is Max with Tucker USA, and today we're going to be going over the new Tucker DIY kit so you can build your own cart on your own frame. We're going to be going through what you can expect to find inside the box, and then we're going to be setting it up. First thing, you're going to pull out 10 feet of Tucker filter tube, one 40-inch stainless steel filter housing, one Rival Series Tucker Argo, two 2.5 by 10 blue carbon sediment pre-filter housings, one 4.5 by 10 DI housing, one DI filter bracket, and one carbon sediment dual filter bracket. Then you're going to find two sediments, two chloramine killer carbons, and two DI filters. Now these are 2 by 10 and these are 4 by 10. Plus we're going to get a 2.5 filter wrench and a 4.5 inch filter wrench. Inside this bag you're going to find some plumber's tape, two stainless steel saddle clamps, spare O-rings for your 2.5 and 4 inch housings, a packet of filter lubricant, and a TDS meter. In the last 3 bags, we're going to find a gauge bracket, and a gauge to hose T, a bypass valve PRO, and then a bracket for that bypass valve. We're going to have all screws for your pre-filters and your DI filters, 8 pre-filter screws and 4 DI filter screws. And all fittings, bushings, male and female connections to get water around your system. Now we're going to build a cart. We're going to use this table as the model for our frame. The first thing we're going to need is our 2 pre-filter carbon sediment housings, our bracket, 1 elbow, 1 nipple, 1 female inlet. Now what is important is to mount your brackets before attaching the filter housings. Now we're not going to do that to this table, but these are 1/4 inch holes here and here in the middle. You want to make sure that you bolt these down. You're not going to be able to access them after you attach the housings. So you want to mount this and your DI filter bracket first, wherever you want them to be. We're going to start with the carbon sediment. Let's have them mounted here. After it's mounted, I'm going to grab my plumber's tape here. I'm going to tape an elbow, a female inlet, and the nipple. I do 5 lines of tape. If you do 1 or 2, it'll be more prone to leaking. If you do too much, you'll be prone to splitting the plastic. This plastic is softer than metal, so do be wary about splitting it. Watch how tight you're tightening everything down. Watch for any creasing in the plastic. The first thing, once this is mounted, and I can't do it from here, so I'm going to bring this up. Once you have this mounted, you are free to hook these up. The first step though is to connect these 2 housings together with this nipple. I'm going to go inlet of the sediment to the outlet of the sediment to the inlet of the carbon to the outlet of the carbon in a nice chain. So then the inlet side here of the carbon, I'm going to thread this nipple in halfway. Not all the way down, just a little bit to catch it. On the outlet of the sediment, I'm going to meet on the other half of the nipple. I'm just going to twist these together until the housings, the plastic housing shells almost touch. Not till they are touching, but till they almost touch. After that, I'm going to level these out, and I would put them under wherever I had this mounted to. I'm going to do this over the top. There's 8 holes here and 8 screws. 5/16. I'm going to grab my drill here. Now that we have our housings mounted to the bracket, it's time to put in our elbow on the outlet of the carbon. The sediment here through to carbon. On the outlet of the carbon, I'm going to grab my 7/8 wrench and tighten this elbow down. Wary of how tight it is. It's better to start looser than tighten it too tight. Tighten it as needed if it's leaking. And same with the female inlet on the inside, on the inlet of the sediment. And so now, we're going to be moving through to our oil filter, the next step. We're going to need a 3/8 socket and the 2 saddle clamps. I'm going to loosen these screws on the side of the saddle clamps. And undo the teeth until the tops come off and you set them aside. I'm going to set them a fair distance apart before putting the RO housing into place. After, this has been mounted down to wherever you're going to put it, here and here, 2 holes on each side. And I'm going to hook the tooth first on this side and then pull the top over the bracket. And then I can drill down here and tighten the clamp. And now this is where we're going to add some more fittings. Add my plumber's tape. And this plug with the 3/8 hex driver. I'm going to wrap this plug the same amount of times as usual and put it in the center of the bottom hole. This is reversible. You're just going to pick a bottom, treat it as the bottom, and treat the other side as the top. Now I'm going to put an elbow in the spare hole at the bottom. And so this is going to be your inlet with the plug. I'm going to throw that over this way. And down at this end here, I'm going to put 2 more elbows. One in the center and one on the outside. The one in the center is going to be your clean water out. And the one on the outside is going to be your waistline. Last, you're going to have mounted our DI bracket. Mounted our DI bracket, you're going to need 1 more elbow and a bushing. Now the elbow being a 7/8 wrench and the bushing being a 1 16. I'm going to thread them together. 1 16, bushing inside, 7/8 on the elbow. Tighten them together. And this is going to go in the inlet of the DI housing. The outlet, we have also 1 16, but our male fitting. And then we're going to take our 4 1/2 inch head, 1/4 20 screws. So next, we're going to attach our gauge and bypass valve brackets, hook up the gauge, and plumb the system. First thing first, I'm going to grab the gauge T, and the bracket. I'm going to tape the gauge the usual 5 times. Set it to the side. I'm now going to mount the bracket. So if I was to mount it here, where I'm going to for this demonstration, I would mount it down. I would then, from the bracket to the outside, put the gauge through the bracket and put the T on the inside. And this gauge is a 9/16 wrench size. You can get it by hand a little bit. I'll take my 9/16. I'll tighten it down. until it is firm and flush against the bracket itself, holding both in place. And then I would mount the gauge wherever I was going to put it. So this then push, and I'll put it right here. Next, I would mount the bypass valve, the bracket. You could use screws or rivets with these. I'll put my bypass over here. And this valve will just sit inside of the bracket like this, held in place by the tubing. Next, we're going to plumb the system. I have my 10 feet of pull hose that comes with the system. You can cut as much as you need. And come around to this end of the table. I'm going to go from the outlet elbow of the carbon filter into this push to fit fitting. I would run it into the gauge. The gauge goes before the RO and after the pre-RO filters. And then I would take another lump. And I would run it from the gauge into what we're calling the bottom of the RO housing for this demonstration, into that push to fit. So now I have one hose going through the gauge into the bottom of the RO. Over on what we're calling the top, over what we're calling the top, I have the middle elbow and the outside elbow. The middle elbow is the clean water out after it's been filtered by the RO, and the outside is going to be your waistline. So I'm going to start with the waistline. Just going to put it into the outside elbow. And wherever I had this mounted, so I mount it here. So it would go into the valve. And I would take another line. And I would run it to the other side of the valve. And now your bypass is functional. It's pre-drilled to have the allowed amount of water leaking out when it is closed. And this would run your waste wherever you angled it. And then from the middle, I'm going to do one more line into the DI filter like this. And there will be a chart of this flow shown on picture now. So now we're going to go through how to filter your system. The tools I have for this: a 1/2-inch wrench and a 1/2-inch socket with a drill motor, the packet of lube that came with it, the sediment, the carbon, the DI filter, and the Rival Series RO. First things first, I'm also going to have these two wrenches, a 2.5 and a 4-inch. I'm going to take the 2-inch RO, slide it over the housing, turn to the left, and these teeth on this will grip the housing itself and allow you to turn them on. Take these filters, one carbon, one sediment, out of their wrapping, placing them over the center cone inside the housing. I'm going to take the carbon as well, making sure both O-rings stay seated in this groove here. set it over the center cone. And this would be vertical. By hand, I can tighten it on. Same with this end. Now I'm going to lay this back down. I'm going to grab a 2-inch wrench and tightening the housings down, finishing that seal. Now, the RO housing is not going to have the O-rings in this lid yet. So I'm going to take my wrench and my drill. Unthread one side all the way. This will allow these jaws to open up and come off the frame of the housing. And this end is going to lift right out. Inside of here, go from this other side. Inside of here is going to be a package, 4 O-rings. There is 2 on each end of the housing. 2 grooves, 4 O-rings. I'm going to just put it over the groove with my finger, stretch it over, making sure it's seated all the way inside. And then I'm going to take the RO out of the bag. Now with RO, it does not matter which way water flows through this. What does matter is this O-ring here is in last, whichever way you put it in. And that this pole, or any pole, is still going to the side with the middle elbow in it. I'm going to put it in going this way here. So first, I'm going to grab my packet of lube. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to take my end here. I'm going to get some lubricant. Put it around the outside of the O-rings on this lid. I'm going to push it in until it seats all the way down. And then importantly, as I go to insert this RO, I'm going to lube both poles on both sides, or else it can cause a lot of friction inside the O-rings on the inside of this top and can make it difficult, if not impossible, to get out. So I'm going to lube that pole. I'm going to tighten down this end here to lock this cap in place. I've lubed this pole. I'm going to lube this center pole here on this side as well. And I'm going to lube the O-ring around the RO. Feel free, if you have enough, to also lubricate the inside of the end of this housing here, just to get a little bit better of a seal with the O-ring of the RO. Now this O-ring here, it has a bit of a mouth to it where it's wider on top than it is at the bottom. So if you put it in O-ring first, these sides are going to grab and the O-ring is going to pull back and flip and come off the groove. So you want it in last, so the mouth is to the outside. So now I'm going to put this RO in, all the way until it stops. And I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm getting lube on the O-rings of these tops. And then I'm going to push it all the way down. Now the RO is installed. I'm going to seal this up with this clamp at the other end. And lastly, we're going to install our DI filter. We're going to need a 4-inch wrench, one of the DIs. Using the 4-inch wrench, just as the same you do with the 2-inch housings. Put it over the bottom, turn to the left, loosen the housing. There is paper in here you want to watch out for and take out as well. This DI filter is going to be installed. There's an arrow here, O-ring up. Flat part on the bottom over the center pole. So I'm going to install it downward until it seats all the way down. And similarly to the 2-inch filters, put this over the top. Finishing my wrench, plugging it under, tightening it down. Now all filters are installed and this unit would be ready to be in operation. I put my garden hose into the inlet of the sediment. You're going to have water going through the carbon, through the gauge, through the RO, wastewater out of the waistline, clean water out of the top of the filter, center pole, under the DI, clean water out of the outlet to your pole. And that is how to build your Tucker DIY system.